In this lecture and in upcoming lectures, I will demonstrate you user interfaces, that is SAP GUI and SAP Fiori, to access SAP S/4HANA Business Suite. So first I will give an introduction to SAP GUI, that stands for Graphical User Interface. It is a client or software that runs on a Microsoft Windows, Apple Macintosh or Unix desktop and allows a user to access SAP functionality in SAP applications such as SAP S/4HANA Business Suite and SAP Business Intelligence. It is the platform used for remote access to the SAP Central Server in a company network. Its current Windows version is 7.70 and its current Mac or Java version is 7.80. So SAP GUI is installed as you normally install a Windows or Apple Macintosh software by running its setup. Then once it is installed, you can see the following SAP GUI icon on your desktop. And when we double click on it, so you will have this Windows open. First, you can notice that we are using SAP GUI version 7.70, that is the latest one. And also if we click on this button and go to About SAP Logon, so we can also see the release 7.70. We can also go to options and can change the theme of SAP GUI. And we can also do the settings when we log into SAP system. So I will demonstrate you SAP GUI options when we log into SAP system. Next, you can create a new connection as per the server details given by your company or SAP server provider. So we can create a new connection by click on this button and then choose connection. And we have this second screen open where we can choose user specified system and then click next. And in this screen, we will first select the connection type as custom application server or group or server selection. And connection type information will be given to you by your employer or the company from whom you will rent the server. Most of the cases, connection type will be custom application server. And then enter the description. So description can be any information about the system that can identify it. So for example, we can enter as SAP S/4HANA example. And after that, we can enter the application server and it can be like 11. And after that, we can enter instance number, which is normally 2-digit numeric key. And system ID can be S4H. After that, we can click next and then we can again click next. And after that, we can click finish. And you can see your connection created in this Windows. And please note that this is the example connection details I have input just to show you that how you can create a connection to access SAP system. If you are looking for SAP access, then you can watch the last bonus lecture to know that how you can access SAP system. And after that, we will double click on the connection and you will have this SAP screen open where first you have to enter the client key where you have an access. For example, we are using client 100 in this training. What is client? I will explain you further on client in one of the upcoming lectures. And after that, we will enter our username and password. And we also have an option to change a different login language than English if you belong to a non-English speaking country. Then after that, we will press enter. And we will be landed on this SAP Easy Access screen or SAP Blue screen where all the transactional activities are executed by the business users. And we can also call this screen as SAP GUI User Interface. Now there are three ways to navigate transactions through SAP GUI User Interface: User or SAP menu, Favorites, Fast Path, or Transaction Code. The first navigation method is through User menu or SAP menu, which you can see on your screen here, SAP menu. For example, we want to create a sales order in SAP S/4HANA Sales. Then we can navigate to the folder Logistics, and then Sales and Distribution, then Sales, and then Order. And here we have an option to create a sales order. If we double click on it, then the sales order screen will open, where first we have to enter the order type and our organizational data. So this is the first method to access a transactional screen through the menu path. Now the second method to navigate transaction is through favorites. For example, I'm a business user and my daily routine is to create sales order, and I want that there should be a way to access this transaction very quickly. So what I can do, I can select this create option and then will click this button add to favorites. And you can see that this transaction has been added to my favorites folder. And next time when I log in, I do not need to access this sales order activity through the SAP menu, but through the favorites folder. And I can also collapse the SAP menu if I do not want to see that. So I can have the long list of transactional activities in the favorites folder, which I can access very quickly. So this is the second method to navigate a transaction in SAP GUI User Interface or SAP Easy Access screen. Now, the third method is through fast path or transaction code. For example, if I go back to logistics and show you the option to create order. Now SAP has provided a transaction code for each activity we can do in SAP GUI User Interface. And in order to see the transaction code, we have to do the settings. So if I will go to the top menu under Extras and then click Settings. And then I will mark the checkbox Display Technical Names. And after that, press Enter to continue. And now I can see the transaction code with the menu path VA01. We can also navigate under Logistics, then Sales and Distribution, then Sales, and then Order. And we can also see the transaction code now with along with the menu path, that is VA01 to create, VA02 to change, and VA03 to display. Now, how can we use the following transaction codes to access a transactional screen very quickly or very fastly? So as you can see that we have a white blank bar in the bottom menu. And if I will type here VA01, so you notice that I have very quickly accessed this sales document screen where I will enter my order type and then organizational data. Now, if you do not want to use favorites folder, but you want to use a transaction code to access a transaction, then you can remember the transaction codes, or if you are working in specific transactions in your day-to-day activities, then you will automatically remember all those transaction codes which you need to perform your duties. For example, if you are working in sales department and your job is to create sales order, then you can remember the transaction code VA01, and if you further scroll down and then open the folder shipping and transportation outbound delivery create and then single document, so its transaction code is VL01 to create outbound delivery with reference to sales order or without order reference. Here is the transaction code. So for each individual activity you can find a transaction code. So you have the following three ways to navigate transactions through SAP GUI interface, and that is through the SAP menu or through SAP favorites folder or through the transaction codes. Now there are few more tips and tricks I would like to mention here. That let's say you have run the transaction code VA01 to create sales order screen, and now you want to go to outbound delivery document because you do not have to come on the transaction code VA01, but you have to navigate to the transaction code VL01, that is to create outbound delivery. So you do not need to come out of this screen. For example, you do not need to come back on SAP Easy Access screen and then type this transaction code here as VL01N to access the outbound delivery screen. You can use the command /n, and what it will do, it will end the current transaction and then navigate you to the outbound delivery screen directly, as you can see here. And if you want to go back to sales order screen, then you can again type /n and VL01N. So this is the command which you can also remember, and you will be using this command /n most often during your day-to-day activities on SAP system, and it ends the current transaction and then take you to the transaction code which you will enter here directly. Now if you want that you do not have to end this transaction code, but you also want to open the screen while you want to create a new session. So you have an option to create new session by click on this button. So if I will click on it, so another session will open, and then if I will click again, so another session opens. So you can see that several sessions can be opened where you can work differently into each session. The maximum number of sessions you could open were 6, but now you can see that as per 2021 version, we can open several sessions per user logon. So I will close one by one. Now the next scenario is that you want to access outbound delivery screen, while you also want this sales document screen should also be opened. So you can use the command /o. /o will create a new session and then directly navigate you to the transaction code which you will enter after /o commands. For example, I have entered VL01N, that is outbound delivery transaction code, and when I will press enter, it will open the new session at the same time and directly navigate us to this transaction code VL01N, while the sales document session is also opened at the same time. Similarly, you can use the command /i to close a session, and you can also enter /n without any transaction code, and it will directly take you back to SAP Easy Access screen. Another scenario is that multiple sessions are opened while you want to log off, and you think that it is a waste of time to close each session one by one, then in that case you can use the command /nend or /n-end, and when I press enter, so it will prompt me this pop-up message, do you want to log off? And if I will click yes, so I will be logged off SAP all sessions. And you can also use the command /nex, and again this will close all the sessions, but it will not give you any warning message. Next, you can see this button for customize local layout. So if I will click on this button and then go to options, so we have an option to choose the theme of our SAP GUI interface. Currently I am using the theme SAP signature theme, so you can click this drop down list where you can choose the theme as per your choice. For example, we can go to classic theme and click apply, and after that we have to click OK, and now we have to come out or log off our session and then log in back. And now I will close it as well, and after that I will double click on the SAP logon, and you can feel the difference of color in this SAP logon pad. And now if I will double click on it, I can see the classic theme in this format, and this reminds me the SAP GUI user interface back in 2009, which is similar to this. And now I will go back by click on the options button in the top right hand corner and then click options, and I will go back to my SAP signature theme, and after that click apply and then click OK. And now I have to log in back to SAP GUI interface, and that's how we can choose the theme for SAP GUI interface. Similarly, you can also choose the font settings and its size. And further, if we go under branding, so you can choose the brand image to display, and here you can do the color settings, and here you can choose the keyboard settings. So most important control which you need to understand is under visualization 1, that is show keys within drop down list. And I will explain you that how does this work. For example, if I will run the transaction code that is to create material or product into SAP, and its transaction code is MM01, and after that if I will click material type, so here you can choose finished product and its key as FERT. Similarly, if I will run the transaction code BP that is to create customer, you can also see here a key against each description, such as 1 represents business partner, 2 represents person, 3 organization, 4 groups. And if I will display a customer master and then double click on it, so you can also see the key to understand that in which BP role I am in. For example, FLCU00, FLCU01. If these keys are not here, then it is possible the description may not make any sense to you. So these keys are most of the time very important for the business to see that in the drop down list, and you can make its settings by going under options and then interactive design and choose visualization 1 and mark this option show keys within drop down list. Similarly, you need to understand one more option to activate it, that is under the folder local data. So if we open this folder and go to history, so history status should be turned on, and I will show you that how you can take benefit of history. For example, if I will run the transaction code VA01, that is to create sales order, and input the order type and my organization data, and after that I will have to enter the customer reference, and if I will type any alphabet and after that I will remove it, so it is showing me the history of customer reference which I have previously used, and accordingly I can choose the one which I have previously entered. And the same history logic applies on customer reference date. For example, if I will remove it, the system will propose me the following dates which I have previously entered in the sales documents. So that's how the system keeps the history if we turned it on under the options. As you can see that it is turned on, and its expiry time is 3 months. If you want to reduce the expiry time, then you can do that. And maximum permitted file size is 10 megabytes and maximum number of entries 20, and enable history for fields up to 59 characters. And also you have an option to clear the history if you do not want to display the history. And also you can delete local cache files. And further, you can also control the sound settings, and also you can choose the default browser, which I will explain you that how we can make a default browser to work on the second user interface, that is SAP Fiori. You can also control notifications. Next, I will go back to SAP Easy Access screen. Next is that we can also navigate to SAP user menu besides SAP menu. If we click on this button, user menu, then you will have a different user menu to use. Now, in live business environments where companies may only give you the relevant permissions to work on SAP system as per your job or duties, and accordingly you will be assigned a user menu which you can only access. You may not have access to SAP menu, but you can only see the user menu as per your role. And one more thing about favorites. For example, if you do not know the menu path but you know the transaction code, then you can add that transaction code only. For example, if I will go to the top menu under favorites and choose here insert transaction, and then I will enter the transaction as VL01N. That is to create outbound delivery document, and press enter. And I can add this transaction code directly under favorites folder. Next, you want to create a sales billing invoice document, but you do not know its transaction code or menu path. Then we can use a transaction code search SAP _menu and then press enter, and we will have this pop-up window open where we will enter billing. And after that, we will press enter to continue. So you can notice that you have different nodes, text, and then transaction codes. For example, you have VF05 where you can display the list of billing documents, and further you can scroll down. VFX3 is to list blocked billing documents, and VF04 is to maintain billing due list. So we can also use this transaction code to create billing documents. And further you can scroll down to see the other transaction codes. Now the next option we can use is find button. If I will click on this find button and type here billing, and after that I will click find. So I have to select the SAP menu, or I have to select the folder logistics first and then click find and then enter billing. And you notice that system has picked up the following folder for billing. And if this is not the folder you are looking for, then you can click this button, find next. And now it is showing us the transaction code VF05 to display the list of billing documents. And if I will click find next again, so it is navigating us from one transaction code to another to create the billing documents. And it is automatically unfolding the folders in SAP Easy Access screen. And that's how you can use the following find buttons to find a transaction code. Next, I will demonstrate you the comparison in SAP Easy Access screen and SAP Display IMG screen. So in SAP Easy Access, all the activities related to end users, super users, and top management are executed through this screen. Now I will demonstrate you Display IMG, in which all the activities related to configuration, implementation, and enhancement of SAP are executed through this screen. In order to access this screen, we use the following transaction codes or menu path. That is SPRO or SIMG, or if you want to navigate through the menu path, then you can go through SAP Easy Access, then Tools folder, Customizing, IMG, then Execute Project. And we will directly use the transaction code either SPRO or SIMG to do all our configuration in this training course. And I would like to highlight one more point here, that SIMG is the transaction code to access Display IMG screen that is introduced by SAP in the version S/4HANA 2021. Before S/4HANA 2021, SPRO was the only transaction code that was used to access Display IMG screen. And the good thing is that in S/4HANA 2021, we have both transaction codes to be available to access Display IMG screen. So it is up to you. If you want to use SPRO, then you can do that. If you want to use SIMG, then you can do that. But I will show you the difference in both transaction codes now. So in order to access Display IMG screen where all the configuration activities are executed, we can either navigate through the menu path under Tools, then Customizing, then IMG, and here we can see the option to execute project. Its transaction code is SPRO. So we can also run the transaction code SPRO, and after that we have to click this button SAP reference IMG. and we will be on this display IMG screen where we can execute the configuration activities. So if I will create a new session, so this will open SAP Easy Access screen, and now you will understand the front end and back end. So SAP Easy Access screen where all the end user activities are executed, and display IMG screen is the one where all the configuration activities are done. So display IMG screen is the one where all the consultants work, and SAP Easy Access screen is the one where all the business users work to perform their day-to-day activities. Now, as I mentioned that there is one more transaction code which was introduced in S/4HANA 2021, that is SIMG. So if I will type SIMG, so it will directly take me to display IMG screen. And if I will go back to SAP Easy Access, and if I will run the transaction code SPRO, so first it will take me to the customizing execute project screen, and then we have to click the button SAP reference IMG to navigate to display IMG screen. The benefit to use SPRO is that if you are using a project and you are selecting that project before you start your customizing activities, then you can do that. And SIMG is the transaction code which will not give you the option to select any project, but will take you directly to display IMG screen. So in this training course, I will be using sometimes SPRO or SIMG to access display IMG screen. So you do not need to confuse about SPRO or SIMG transaction codes. You can use both of them in S/4HANA 2021. Next, you can also view and extract large number of data from SAP tables. And in order to view a table, we can run the transaction code SE16N to display our table. For example, in SAP S/4HANA, SAP has introduced Universal Journal Table AC Doka, and we can view this table AC Doka by using the transaction code SE16N. What is Universal Journal and what is table AC Doka, I will explain you in one of the upcoming lectures. But at this point, you just need to understand that we can also use SAP GUI interface for analytical purposes. And if we execute this AC Doka table, let's first enter the company code and then we execute the AC Doka table, so we can view the data in one single company code or in multiple company codes. And further, we have a option to extract the data in spreadsheet, word processing, local file. So we have the following options to extract the data. And if you are wondering that what are SAP tables, so I can give you its definition. SAP tables are the building blocks of the SAP environment which are created, displayed and maintained through SAP Data Dictionary by using the transaction codes SE11 and SE80. SAP tables store all the data within your SAP system which are processed and accessed through SAP ABAP code. The transaction code SE16N is mostly used to display general data information. Further, you can add this transaction code in favorites if you want. So we can add this transaction code SE16N in under favorites folder. We can also change the description of the favorites. For example, I can type it as table SE16N And further, we can also change the long description into a small text as sales order. And further, if you do not want any transaction under your favorites folder, you have an option to delete the favorites by click on this button, and the link or transaction will be deleted from the favorites folder. So that's the introduction to SAP GUI interface, and in the next lecture I will demonstrate you new user interface, that is SAP Fiori.